Welcome back to Full Fan Highlights. Arsenal won, Monaco won in 90 minutes. Arsenal win on penalties. And they had to show some real grit, some real determination, some real kind of hunger in large parts of that game today, Arsenal. They went a goal down. Monaco were really up for this game. And look, Arteta was experimenting again, experimenting with this time Urian Timber playing on the left-hand side, which I've never seen him play before. Fabio Vieira out on that right-hand side. You know, no Saka, no Odegaard, a number of players you'd expect to see in the team. Kivior started, and it was a little bit disjointed, I think, at times for Arsenal. But that is what preseason is also about. What can you do? How else can you, how else do you play? How do you perform? How do you react to situations? And I think Arsenal fans would look at some parts of this game and say, look, we should be having more of the ball. We should have been more clinical. We shouldn't have been as sloppy. And I think Arsenal were getting caught on the transition on a number of occasions. I think what's really interesting for me so far, having watched, I think I've watched full 90 minutes of Arsenal's preseason, is the new guys don't seem to be settled in just yet, whether it's Kai Havertz, whether it be Declan Rice. I want to focus on Declan Rice and Thomas Partey because they both started today. And I thought Partey had a really good individual game, individual performance from his point of view, where I thought Declan Rice playing a little more further advanced on the left-hand side, got caught in possession a few times, slightly out, some of his passes slightly undercooked, slightly overcooked at times. Almost as if the Emirates Stadium and its noise and its fame and the pressure of playing there versus the London Stadium kind of got to him a little bit. And I've spoke about this throughout the course of pre-season. I think there is an argument to say in the opening game for Arsenal in the Premier League, maybe you don't start Partey or Rice or Kai Havertz. Maybe you bleed them in slowly. They could equally, rise to the occasion in a real competitive game where there's a bit more fight, where there's a bit more blood and thunder and everything else going on. But yeah, I would say that like Partey impressed me today. I was also really impressed with Fabio Vieira. The only element of his game I would say needs a bit more work, it was the crossing today. But I thought he was very kind of Bernardo Silva-esque out on that right-hand side. I thought he was dangerous. He was commanding. He gave his fullbacks a torrid time. And look, again, I haven't seen him play there on a regular basis. So it's something that I think was well worth testing for Mikel Arteta when he's looking at his squad and how and where he utilizes people next season. So, yeah, from my point of view, I kind of looked at that and thought that was good. I thought Partey stood out as very, very good. I thought Urian Timber, I thought he had a very good game, personally. And I also thought Martinelli over on the left-hand side was dangerous. He, again, direct. He was giving the fullback of Monaco a very, very torrid time indeed. And I suppose you've got to call out Eddie Nketiah. Picked up a goal, got the equalizer. But, again, his overall play is just nowhere near the standard of Gabriel Jesus. You see a big drop-off when he is not in that team. But all that being said, I know there'll be areas that Arsenal fans will not be overly happy with. I know there'll be areas that we're not quite clicking. But I think you've got to be fair here and say, that starting lineup, how close is that to the team that's going to start in the Premier League? You're going to have Zinchenko coming back in on the left. You're going to have Gabriel in the middle. Thomas Partey, Rice, I think everybody wants to see that, but Odegaard in the middle controlling that ball, because I did think that Emil Smith-Rowe was fairly anonymous in that game. Saka, of course, on the right-hand side and Gabriel Jesus. So it's only about 50% of the main outfield team. And I would say that I've watched a few of Arsenal's, I've watched some of Chelsea's, I've watched a bit of Spurs, I've watched Man United's preseason. I haven't really seen anybody that I've watched play their main starting 11 in many of these preseason games. It's been very chop and change, very much about fitness, very much about experimenting. And maybe Arsenal just look at it from the point of view, and maybe Arteta looks at it from the perspective of, well, I know how my first team plays. I don't need them to practice per se in preseason games. I want to experiment with some new players. I want to experiment with some new roles so that we kind of know what works and what doesn't work as the new season plays out and begins. But look, I also feel like with Arsenal having the Community Shield on Sunday, which is only 3 or 4 days away, you're never going to see their full-strength team start and play 75, 80, 90 minutes, as you might see from, for instance, Man United when they play Rennes on Saturday. Because it's a competitive game Sunday. It isn't as competitive as a FA Cup final, but it is more competitive than a pre-season friendly. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do in that game. I want to go to some of your comments, but please hit the like button for us. Please make sure you are subscribing as well. Rice is new to the Arsenal system, same as how Mount is new to Man United's. Yeah, I agree. And I think that there is this pressure from rivals and pressure from the media for Rice to be the best player in the world day one because he costs 100 million. That isn't always the way it works. I think he may need to be bled in over the first couple of months and eased into his role at Arsenal. That may be the most sensible thing for him to do. Aguna Dan here says proof that Partey is the starter in that 6 role. Rice, even at 100 million, just needs to settle in and not be rushed. Keeping Partey will help Rice in the long term as well. Jesus injury, get a striker, Mikel. They're going to be assessing the Gabriel Jesus injury. I haven't read anywhere in terms of how long that may or may not be, but depending on how lengthy that is, a new striker may be very much needed now at Arsenal. We know Vlahovic is available at a fairly good price. Or maybe this is the time to talk to Balogun and say, listen, Balogun, we're going to give you, if Jesus is out for 2 or 3 months, this is the chance of Balogun to be told, you're going to be the main guy. Don't leave. What do Arsenal fans want to see? Remember now, they've upped their game on StreamYard. Member chats, which you will get one a month for our members when your monthly thing renews, will now be shown on the screen, which I'm very happy that StreamYard have added that. I've been literally sending it in on the feedback report once a month to them for ages now, so I'm very, very happy to see that done. At least we didn't lose the penalty shootout. That's very, very true. Very, very true indeed. Rice the flop. I think that's a little bit. I think that's a little bit premature. I think Rice looks better in a West Ham midfield than he actually is. Curious to see how it plays out. Look, I would again, I'm going to defend Rice how I've defended Man United players that so far this summer have been judged in the same way. You've got to give competitive games are the ultimate barometer, and he needs time. This notion that if Rice isn't the best midfielder in the Premier League year one at Arsenal, I think is slightly over the top. Rice is so good. Sorry, Havertz is so good. Rice is awful. Timber is class, is what Clarky Boy says here. Rice has been outclassed in every game he's played so far. Arsenal robbed of 100 million is what Sustudio says here. Nketiah scores in irregular games. I get what you're saying. Arsenal fans celebrating something pointless sums up Arsenal fans. They're allowed to celebrate a win, even if it is pre-season, surely. Eddie's still not the answer. He's wearing the legendary number 14 shirt as well. I hear you there. Terry, how do you come back to win 1-1? Well, Arsenal won the game. They won the penalty shootout. So they came back from 1-0 down to win the game on penalty shootout. So that's how I would describe it. This is just a friendly where almost the entire team was subbed off. Absolutely agree with you. Eddie misses quite a few goals. I get you. We really don't care. Arsenal fans talk a lot, so we're going to talk Rice boiled out, is what Reece James Kingdom says. Vieira scares me. Like when will he get injured? I don't know what you mean by that. Terry, you can't tell me Arsenal had positives to take away. I think they had a few players that performed well. That's what I said from there. But I do think Arsenal fans would be disappointed. I think they were better. They improved in the first half of the second half. But the problem I have with pre-season games and the way the subs are done, it often kills football matches. In fairness, I thought Trossard did well when he came on. I thought Trossard looked dangerous, had a few good moments, but there just wasn't. And this is the thing. And this is what Arteta's got to develop this year. They have a kind of starting 11 with a couple of additional players that work really well together at Arsenal. But there wasn't enough rotation last year for there to be multiple relationships. And maybe that is the development that this Arsenal team needs this season. Darren AFC says Timber is a baller, one bright spark. Yeah, I like the kid. I think he's excellent. I think he is excellent. Jamal here says, Terry, I thought Rice played decent today. I think decent is fair. If I was rating Rice out of 10, I'd probably give him a 5.5 or a 6, which is in and around decent. Whereas Partey, I'd probably give him a 7 to a 7.5, as an example. What's the least dense Terry? Water, air, or Fabio Vieira? I actually thought Vieira played all right tonight. I thought he played okay. Look, again, I wouldn't be giving him a 9 out of 10, but it's definitely an area on the pitch on that right-hand side that if I was Arteta, I would look to explore him in more regularly. This year says, I can bet with any Arsenal fan here, Arsenal will not win anything this season, is what Lord Shup has got to say. Interesting take. I'd love to know why. This year, Fabio Vieira was actually decent. TBG says Rice played well. What's going on with this over analyzing is so weird to me. Yeah, I wouldn't. Again, I'm not going to get angry over you saying he played well. I thought he was decent. You can tell Rice is learning the Arsenal way, and that's very much it. He's learning how to play a new game, and it's going to take him time. But I think when Rice settles, I think when Rice finds his feet, I think when Rice is comfortable at Arsenal, truly comfortable at Arsenal, you'll see a tremendous football player in there. There's just going to be an adaptation period. And sometimes some players hit the ground running. We've seen that. If you look at Arsenal last year, Gabriel Jesus hit the ground running. Zinchenko hit the ground running. But look at Odegaard. It took him a little bit of time to settle. But now most Arsenal fans wouldn't want to see him out of the team. So it just takes a little bit of time. It just takes a little bit of time for people to sometimes settle. Thank you, Ringy, for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. That means everything to us. So thank you very much indeed. Guna Dan here says, Peeps do need to remember no Saka, Gabriel, Odegaard, or Zinchenko. And listen, loads of people have lost and drawn games in pre-season. It's not the be-all and the end-all. Anthony here says, Tierney needs to start with Timber on the right. Tierney looked good. Yeah, I thought Tierney looked good when he came on as well. And it looks like he's going to stay right now. There's no sort of talk of him leaving. There's been no real links to him going other than the original links at the beginning of the summer. So he very much could. Emil Smith-Rowe's game will benefit from change of position and plays with players like Rice behind him. Yeah, I see where you're coming from when you say that. Look, I thought Smith-Rowe was fairly invisible from an attacking point of view. But then you're judging him based on how well and how good Odegaard typically is in those positions. G-Star says to us here that Fabio was good today, but he can't beat a man. That's the problem when when it's your Saka cover. That is what I'd say is true. I think, do you know what it is though? I think there was times where he did his man. He had his man beat, and then he kind of cut back. And I think that may be a confidence in himself thing, and maybe that will develop over time. But I do hear you on that. Fabio was not decent. Come on, he's utterly useless, is what Johnny Boy M says to us all here today. Cliff Zockerzone says, Terry, I've been impressed how much better Arsenal have looked since the Arsenal-Man United game. I hear you on that. Ringy here, one of our new members, says, if we played the same team we did for final 20, we would have won the game 3-0 easily. Yeah, I think if you'd have started with that team, it would have been a very different result. I get you there. The Fouled Wizard said, Terry, as an American fan, I love getting to see Chelsea playing pre-season. I know the summer tours aren't loved by folks, but I feel like it's really important for clubs' mind share in the global market. Of course, I think it's brilliant for international fans to get a glimpse of their favorite players and their club. I think that's really, really important as well. So I'm just turning the fan on in here because I'm a little warm. Got a bit of a cold at the minute, so I'm going to keep my temperature down. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very important. Find myself reading less and less football news and would rather watch TFT. Keep it up, man. You're killing it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat and I appreciate the comment as well. It means a great deal to me that so many of you tune in on such a regular basis. This here from Felix says, Nketiah won a friendly tournament and FA Cup. Kane only won a friendly tournament. Shameless of these Arsenal fans. They're shameless out here today. But it's all It's all good. It's all fun and games. It's all fun and games. Fabio started well, dropped off in the second half, but to say he is a Saka replacement is harsh. They're a completely different style of players. But this is also the side of it. Sometimes it's about having horses for courses. And if you look at Mahrez and Bernardo Silva, now I'm not saying he's anywhere near Bernardo Silva's level, but they're a different type of player. If I look at Sancho and Anthony, different types of players. And sometimes you need a different type of winger to be your backup. Sometimes you need a different type of player because one, I understand it's nice to have like for like if there's a long-term injury, but sometimes you want to bring somebody on and it may not be regular. It might just be, listen, we need someone with a bit more guile, a bit more technical ability out on the right. And maybe that will attract more players over and create room in the middle. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Find out more about this team when it comes to Sunday. Listen, I think Arsenal have got a good chance on Sunday. I really do. I think Arsenal have got a good chance on Sunday to win. And again, I'm someone that, again, if it was my team in this Community Shield final, when it could have been if we won the FA Cup, I would want to win. Yes, it doesn't mean everything. City lost it last year and won a treble. It doesn't mean you're going to have a great season if you win it. It doesn't mean you're going to have a bad season if you don't. But it's better to win every game you play in than not. Gunnar Paul here says, I absolutely rate Trossard. Brilliant. Love the Terrace. As always, Terry. Best channel on YouTube. Rice looked all right tonight. Party fantastic. And I agree with everything you said there, especially about the Terrace. But you're absolutely right. I thought Trossard looked dangerous when he came on. He has got the bit between his teeth. And he's maybe the guy you bring on and put on the right. If Saka gets an injury and you need someone out there week in, week out, who you need to drive at fullbacks like Saka does. But I think Fabio Vieira could be utilized out there in specific games or at specific moments when you have to change it up. But he was great. And again, you saw Partey's qualities today. And I think that one of the most important decisions that I think Arteta has made this summer, and I don't know how it did it. We don't really know the ins and outs of it right now, but keeping Thomas Partey at Arsenal was going to be key. And this is just a little prediction of mine. I think it may take Declan Rice a little bit of time to settle. And if there was no Partey, no Xhaka, you could lose a little something in there. But yeah, very, very good decision. The subs coming on showed Arsenal's depth. All the subs could be starters. And you've got to remember, Arsenal are going to be adding some more depth. It looks like they're adding Raya. And I think they add at least one more player. Whether it's a Caicedo, Lavia type midfielder, or more of a Mohamed Kudus, I think Arsenal add at least two more players. That gives you more depth in goal, gives you more depth in the midfield and or the attack. Mohamed Kudus would be my pick if I was in charge of Arsenal, because he can cover Odegaard, he can cover Gabriel, he can cover Saka on the right. And he's very proficient and high quality in both of those positions. He really is. Terry, now Jesus is injured for unknown time. Must Balogun be given a chance? I would speak to him and say, look, he's going to be out. We're going to give you an opportunity. However, that's me. I think Mikel Arteta prefers Nketiah. I really do. Because if he thinks that Balogun's going to be better, why would you not be starting Balogun tonight? Why would you not? In some of the games I've watched Arsenal play in pre-season, Nketiah that's come on, not Balogun. So that tells me, for one reason or another, whether it's ability, attitude, or the fact that Balogun wants to leave, Arteta probably isn't going to do that. Otherwise, he'd be playing him now. So, yeah, I think Balogun, he may end up staying if no one bids, but I think he's got more chance of leaving. Dante says, still have Trossard can play there with Havertz in behind. Yeah, look, Arsenal have already got lots of options. But I think if you add one more to that mix, you're in a very strong position indeed. And if that ends up meaning Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira barely play because you don't get any major injuries in those areas, so be it. It doesn't matter. The cream rises to the top. The better performers for Arsenal play. The ones that don't. You become a better team. Those players move on and you sell and you reinvest into the squad. I don't think it's a concern at all. Balogun is Balogun injured? Sorry, my apologies. I wasn't sure. I didn't know about that. So I do apologize. Again, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't follow every single piece of news. I didn't even check the bench tonight in the lineup. I was just kind of watching the game for the sake of just watching the game, not for the sake of it. I was just watching the game. This says, Terry, what we have seen from this game is that Jesus cover and Saka cover is levels below Arsenal standard. People should wake up and smell the coffee. Viewers, what do you make of this comment? Let me know now. Let me know in the comment section below what you make of this. Do you agree? Do you think it's correct? Let me know, please, my people. We are in for a right winger, but don't know who could play well besides Kudos, because the right is normally would normally have the ball, whereas the left is normally a gung-ho type player. Well, Arsenal also linked with Elise, and I think Elise is really, really talented. I think Elise would give, again, I think he's different to Bukayo Saka. I think he's got a different skill set, even though he's quite direct. He likes to dribble at a fullback. He could be an excellent addition. You're talking £35 million. It's not a lot of money in 2003 that could really help improve you. I want to get some people's opinions on Rice's performance today as well. What other areas would you like to see Arsenal improve in the squad and in the team as this window moves forward? Arsenal fans, let me know. Christian here says, Terry, sadly, a lot of Arsenal fans don't reason with logic and rational. Rational. They are not even, you're not even an Arsenal fan, and you reason much better than a great deal of the Arsenal fan base. Look, people are often very, very emotional about their own clubs. Man United fans, I'm a United fan, are emotional about their club. I'm an England fan. Lots of England fans are emotional, and so am I at times. But often you have to sit back and just reflect. Often you have to sit back and just take stock of what's going on. Pre-season has lots of important parts. Results of games are not always them, especially today. Listen, how many Premier League or Champions League games do you think you're going to start with Kivior in the centre-back role, with Timber on the left, Fabio Vieira on the right, and Ketia starting as a striker, and Smith Rowe in your 10? How many games do you honestly think you're starting like that? Maybe none. And as I said to Lee Gunner the other day when we were talking about preseason and how important he says it is, it's hard to judge the outcome of some of these games when you make 7 or 8 substitutions after 60 minutes and both teams do it together, because it's an abnormal part of football that doesn't exist. It's like playing a game, but the offside rule doesn't count, and there's no fouls don't count. So you can kick people and there's no free kicks, and offside rule doesn't exist. You can never judge the outcome of that game because you're changing the rule. So when you suddenly have, out of 22 players on the pitch, 15, 16, 17 of them change, the game goes into disarray. So it becomes a harder thing to do. Doesn't mean you can't assess elements of the game. Doesn't mean you can't judge parts of the game, but you can't look at it like a normal football match. You just can't, in my opinion. Don't expect the new players to adapt quickly. Rice is still finding his feet. I believe in Fabio, but needs to beat his man and attack the goal quicker. Yeah, I can hear you on that. I think his crossing needed to improve tonight more than anything else. I think he hit the first man a little bit too much. Again, he just always looks a little bit nervous to me. There's a bit of nerves in there. But I thought elements of his game were very good tonight. Rice was playing it safe. I wanted to see him unleashed, is what Troy Mitchell says. I hear you on that. Terry is emotional about 2 clubs, Arsenal and United. Wait, that old chestnut, not really. I'm emotional about the football terrace. I love the football terrace. Emirates Cup is now a Farmers Cup. We're doing it again and again. Trossard can play many positions across the front 3. Sell first before buying. Havertz better than Rice at the moment in that 8 role. I've seen quite a few people on the TL say that as well. 105 million for a backwards passing merchant is what Maximus says here. A little harsh. Against City will be more reflective of the first team. And that's it. And that's kind of like your final preseason friendly to a degree, but it's a bit more competitive, which I think is going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be interesting to look at, see how things kind of, what kind of happens, who starts and in what positions. And then I think again, rivals are going to start judging Rice and Kai Havertz and Timber straight away. So however they perform in that game, well, this is what will happen. If Rice is brilliant, it will be, yeah, it's one game. If he's terrible, it will be, told you he's a flop. How do I know that? I've been in this game since the beginning. I'm one of the OGs when it comes to this. So I know exactly what's going to be said. And Arsenal fans have just got to grow a thick skin and maintain their own opinion. And I think judging any of the new signings after 1 match, 2 match, 3 matches, I think is what I call a bit of a gym. A bit of a gym. It's a little bit premature, if you know what I'm saying. Terry, how many goals was that gone? Do you reckon Thierry Henry would have scored with this team behind him? Similar amounts. Similar amounts of goals, I believe Thierry Henry would have scored with this kind of team. This Arsenal team isn't as good as Thierry Henry's team, but I think he'd got similar amounts. Henry also scored a lot of goals where he kind of made them himself. But he'd still score a lot of goals in this team. A bit of Lee, I reckon. A bit of Lee, I reckon, Terry. Yeah, listen. But people are entitled to judge that early. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm entitled to disagree with them. And so are you, and so is everybody else. And that's the thing about opinions. You're allowed to have them. Doesn't mean people can't challenge them. You know, and it's not gateway keeping, or you're gatekeeping my opinion. No, I'm challenging your opinion. The same as you're challenging people's opinions. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. I think there's a certain way that you should support a team. Doesn't mean you have to follow it. It's just an opinion, you know? Rice could have had 2 assists in the first half, but he's a backwards passing merchant. Oh my God, find new things to say, guys. Even I like banter against Arsenal. Yeah, look, I didn't think it was so much that. I think there were some undercooked and overcooked passes at times, and a little bit out of position in moments. He got caught a few times, but he's got to get used to that role, and he's got to get used to his teammates. It's going to take time. I've been saying that since day one. Super fans would have been putting chest out if Arsenal won in normal time, but because we drew, we can't judge them. Well, again, that's where there's balance. So again, if there's an Arsenal, if Declan Rice balls out and Arsenal fans go, see, he's already repaid the money after 1 Community Shield game, you're going too far. Now, if Rasmus Højlund starts the first Premier League game of the season for my club and bangs in a hat-trick, he hasn't repaid the £64 million fee. It's going to take years to pay that money back. It's years of consistency to say, I think you've returned that money, and trophies for the money to be returned, in my personal opinion. But everybody's very hyperbolic nowadays. This here says, Rice is phenomenal. I believe Partey and Rice in the middle is the way to go. I think it can become a formidable, powerful, and dangerous combination in the center. I really think it can. I really think it's got the makings of something, dare I say, scary. I know people get triggered by that, but I stand by it. I think it can become a scary prospect for people. This year says Charity Shield win gets you 3 points to start the season. What are you talking about? I don't even know what that means. It doesn't, but it helps. It's not. Listen, it's a good thing for confidence. It's a good thing for a feel-good factor, and it's nice to pick up. It's nice to pick up another trophy. It's only a small trophy, but it's nice to add one to the trophy cabinet. I'd rather have it than not. Anthony scored on his debut versus Arsenal. Guess what happened next? Awful spins. Yeah, but then again, I don't think Anthony's season last year was as bad as some people make out. I think the Anthony slander, some of it's credit, some of it's right, some of it's credible, some of it is far too over the top, in my personal opinion. Macavia says Rice and phenomenal shouldn't be in the same sentence. Oh, he's phenomenal for West Ham. He's been phenomenal for England. So I've seen him play phenomenally before, and I believe he can do it at Arsenal. And we'll see if that comes to fruition. Terry, Rice and Partey starts against City and we will win it. Come on, you gooners. Also, is it Man United that made the confidential bid Caicedo? I have no idea. Brighton have not told anybody who it was as of right now. I'd love it to be Man United. I'd love us to sign him. But listen, I like the idea of Amrabat. But if we went and got Caicedo instead, I'd be buzzing. I'd be absolutely buzzing. But I don't think it is Man United. I'd love to be wrong, but there we go. Mohammed here says, we still need a striker, Terry. Worried about that. Jesus already injured. Can't rely on Nketiah. Right winger and a striker is a must. Your thoughts? Listen, let's see how long Jesus is out. But I hear you. I think Arsenal have got to go all out. 40 million for Mohamed Kudus. Can play striker, can play on the right, which means he can get a bit more game time than being a backup to one particular position. That's what I think Arsenal should do personally, my friend. That is what I would do. By the way, viewers, make sure like buttons are hit. Macavia says that's a negotiating tactic, in my opinion. No one else has bid. No, I think you could be very right about that as well, by the way. I think you could be very, very right about that as well. Havertz played well, best on the pitch when he came on, in my opinion. Yeah, I thought Havertz did well. I thought he took his penalty well also. I didn't think he had a bad game. Nothing too cutting edge, but yeah, he played well. Get Usherman for 120 million and sell Eddie and Balogun. Listen, that would be a turn up for the books if Arsenal did that. I don't personally see it happening, but if it did, that would be gigantic. Terry, Jesus had a surgery today. Oh, he had surgery today. Wow, I haven't even seen any of them. Let me just go on to my Twitter feed here for a second. I didn't know that had happened. I haven't read that. Has he just said something in an interview? I haven't read anything about that. I'll go and have a little. Oh, hang on. Yeah, Arteta on Gabriel Jesus' knee injury. He had a little procedure this morning. He's injured, unfortunately. He had some discomfort in his knee that caused him issues that he had to go in. He's going to be out for a few weeks. That's a few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I've had keyhole surgery as well. Again, I didn't have the treatment afterwards at this level. And you're typically looking at 3 to 4 weeks for that. So yeah, maybe a new signing is definitely needed with that injury coming at that point. Listen, I want to say a big thank you. Oh, hang on. This here says a Guardiola signing called off because of Fabrizio tweeted. Obviously, it's not, but thank you very much. It's not off as far as I'm aware, but that would be mad if it was. Can you imagine if he actually costed a signing? It'd be crazy. Look, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Please hit the like button before you leave. Please make sure you subscribe. Just a quick match reaction to that game today. Back tomorrow with got a fan channel review in the morning, got some transfer updates, and then the top 6 show at 6 p.m. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.